Hey everyone, Austin here again with another Let's Play video. Today, as you can see, it's going to be Mega Man for the 8-bit Nintendo, or Nintendo Entertainment System. So I'm kind of cheating on this one. I actually just did a live stream of this like 2 days ago as of recording this Let's Play. Kind of reaching sort of the end of my rope as far as like, you know, what to Let's Play, or at least it's the last minute before I have to have an upload ready for you guys, especially the Patreon backers. So I was like, you know what, I'm well practiced at this. I've been meaning to revisit these Mega Man games in Let's Play form with the new capture setup and stuff like that. And so here we go. We're going to go ahead and do Mega Man once again. So before we actually jump into the game, I want to give a quick shout out to my Patreon backers. We actually got two new backers this week, Amadeus, and Trevor McAleese. I really appreciate your support, guys, and thanks again to everybody else that was already contributing. So yeah, Mega Man 1. Where to start? I'm trying to remember what I did in my first Let's Play of this game many years ago. We'll go ahead and just start off with CutMan. I think on my previous stream I started off with, I think, Gutsman. And, you know, for the order of, like, the first few Robot Masters doesn't really matter to me that much, honestly. I have easy Robot Masters and then more difficult Robot Masters that are a little bit more of a pain. So Elecman and Fireman are the ones that give me the most trouble, personally. And in order to beat those guys, I always have to use the special abilities you get from defeating other Robot Masters. And but for the other guys, I can pretty much just go in any order. I'll pick Gutsman, BombMan, CutMan, maybe even Iceman sometimes. Iceman himself is actually a pretty easy fight for me, but some of the platforming in his stage is a little tricky, towards the end in particular, a little risky as well. And there's actually a special ability you get on Elecman stage. It's like the mag beam or something like that, magnet beam. I don't remember the exact name. I'm sure somebody in comments will let me know. But I typically like to get that for Iceman stage, because there's some nasty platforming towards the end. Not really that nasty, honestly. It's just a little risky, like I said, and you guys will see exactly what I mean once we get there. And it won't take us long to get there. Mega Man 1 is actually a relatively short game compared to the other Mega Mans. Part of the reason for that is that there's only 6 main Robot Masters in this game, and Dr. Wily's castle is also not that large either. So it shouldn't take that long to get through this game. I predict probably about a half an hour, depending on what I do here. Oh, I thought maybe I could try to jump over him and get over him that way. I've never tried that before. I didn't think it would work, but... So yeah, good old classic Mega Man. This is just such a great game. It's, you know, it's very interesting looking at this one, looking back at it, compared to the later Mega Mans, even Mega Man 2. It's just, Mega Man 1 has always had its sort of, like, unique feel compared to a lot of the other Mega Man games in the series. For one, I mentioned this in my live stream, but his movement is a little bit slower to start in this one. So if you're really used to Mega Man 2 and on, Mega Man in this, he can kind of like, just like, if you lightly tap the button, he'll barely move. And you have to hold the button for more than a couple of frames to get him to move. So he's got this like sort of like stiff feeling, slightly more stiff feeling than he does in the other games. Also, some of the sound effects and things like that are a little bit different than they are in other Mega Man games. And this is pretty much the only Mega Man game I can think of off the top of my head that actually has a scoring system. It's not really an intricate scoring system. You can sort of just milk the system and just grind out on, you know, enemies and power-ups all day if you really wanted to max out the score. But it's interesting that it does have one. And it's really not really interesting in that, oh, it's got a score system. I mean, that was a pretty standard thing for when this game came out. It was 1987. It was actually probably less common for a game to not have a scoring system than it was to actually have a scoring system. So it made sense to have a scoring system at a time. You could get these orbs, and, you know, they're multiplied by a certain value, and you can get extra bonus points for them. But yeah, it's got a bunch of unique things like that. Again, like the bonus icon drops, those aren't really in other Mega Man games. They did start incorporating different drops in later Mega Man games, that would allow you to like buy things like extra lives and energy tanks and stuff like that. Also, the health and power-up drops are, or I should say weapon refill drops, are different in this one than they are in even Mega Man 2 and on. So it's really interesting to just go back to this one. As a fan of the later Mega Man games as well, this one definitely feels the most unique. So here's some life ups. This is a power-up refill. You can press start and switch over to a different weapon as long as you've beaten a boss. So the Robot Masters in this game, and this is, you know, obviously something that was carried over for the rest of the series, but the big, one of the biggest defining factors of the Mega Man series in general was being able to take the ability of the Robot Masters that you defeat. And so we defeated CutMan. We get this sort of like these scissors, cut blades that go across the screen. Not really across the screen. They don't go very far, but it is actually a very useful weapon. Not all the weapons are useful, and that was something that was pretty much carried over into other Mega Man games as well. For instance, we're on BombMan stage right now, and BombMan's power-up honestly really isn't that useful. It's slow, it's short range for the most part. You've got to drop it like right in front of an enemy. It's one I pretty much never use, but, you know, it would be actually interesting to try to play through the game with just the BombMan, you know, power. That would actually be interesting. I should try to challenge myself and try to go through this game with just very specific Boss Master weapon powers. It could be really interesting now that I think about it. One other interesting trait about Mega Man 1 is that when you get hit, so let me get hit. You have a few frames of invincibility. When Mega Man is blinking like that, you can't take any more damage for the time being. However, if you fall onto spikes, even though you're invincible at the moment, you still die. So I guess technically that makes you not invincible at the moment, actually. And that's an extra life right there. And this is the only Mega Man to do that, as far as I'm aware. So, again, Mega Man 1 is a little bit different in certain regards, and to me, it's got quite a bit of charm for that. There's some design choices in this game that just don't really make an appearance in other Mega Man games. Another design choice is this, where leading up to the boss fights, you typically have larger hallways and corridors and things like that. And that's always been interesting to me. The checkpoint is still up there, you know, after the first gate, but you still have to go through the longer corridor, typically. It's really interesting. So BombMan is also one of the easier bosses. And pretty much just watch out for his bombs. Just keep moving left and right if you're having a hard time with him. Pretty much his bomb, I think, just tracks wherever you are. So wherever you are on the screen, that's where his bomb is going to go. So as long as you're constantly moving left or right, you're just, or you're not walking into a corner, you're pretty much guaranteed to dodge the bomb. And let's go ahead and do Gutsman. I want to do Gutsman because when we go to Elecman stage, we require Gutsman's ability in order to get the magnet beam. Which again, the magnet beam is going to help us on Iceman stage. I think we can get through Iceman stage without the magnet beam, but I like having it just in case. Like if I die or something like that, and the second time I go through that last section, I don't want to wait. The magnet beam actually also comes in handy on this stage, but obviously you have to go through this stage normally before you can actually get the magnet beam. Now, I don't remember, can you access the Robot Masters a second time if you wanted to? Like if you wanted to revisit the stage? I feel like you can, but I haven't tried it in a long time just because I haven't really had a need to. But Elecman's ability also actually will bust through blocks that normally only Gutsman can plow through. And that comes in later on Dr. Wily's stage as some of the Gutsman blocks make a reappearance on Wily's stages. And I'll demonstrate that as we get farther into the game. So I'm making pretty good progress. A lot of these levels actually aren't even that long, to be honest with you. Some of them have, you know, long vertical sections like this. Ooh, that was close. They almost knocked me into that spike. Oh, look at that. I don't normally get that. So if you hold left here, as you fall, you can come in here and jump and get that extra life. So that was good. We actually don't usually get that. And these guys dish out the damage. You want to just try not to touch them. But they have, like, hops at varying levels, varying heights. They'll do baby hops, or they'll do just full hops that you can just, like, walk under. The baby hops, unfortunately, you cannot traverse under. What I'm going to do is actually try BombMan's weapon. Normally, I typically try to attack a lot of these bosses with just your standard Mega Buster shot, because it's more fun for me that way. But I'll demonstrate BombMan here. He does, his ability does a ton of damage against Gutsman, but you've got to hit Gutsman just right and sort of try to predict where Gutsman is going. Wow, that was good. Each of the 3 bombs actually worked. That was really good. Normally, I don't get it like that. Normally, Gutsman just sort of like runs away. Or hops in the wrong direction and doesn't get hit by the explosion. So, like, that's why I said, you know, BombMan's weapon is probably my least favorite. And, let's go ahead and do Elecman. This is where I'm going to have to start using the Robot Master weapons against the bosses. Because Elecman especially, I mean, I can dodge Elecman, but it's kind of interesting in this game where when you're using your standard stock shot, your Mega Buster as they call it, on certain bosses, you'll do like 2 or 3 bars of damage with just your Mega Buster, but on other bosses, you'll only do 1 bar of damage, which means you've got to hit the bosses way more than you do other bosses. And I don't know if this was like intentional, but it's the harder bosses that have higher defense than the other bosses. It's a really odd design choice. You would think to balance it out, you would make the easier bosses take longer to kill, and the harder bosses would take, you know, less hits to kill. Since you're having to dodge, you know, more difficult patterns that dish out more damage, basically. But no, it's the exact opposite. The harder bosses have higher defense and stronger attacks, and the easier bosses have weaker attacks and take less time to kill. It's really interesting. I think in the later Mega Man games that was balanced out a little bit better. Not always, but in some cases it was. And so I think... No, I'm going to go ahead and just keep CutMan's weapon equipped. So there's these little enemies on platforms that are a little bit annoying to deal with. And they can't be killed with your normal Mega Buster shot. That was actually really good. I jumped through those beams. That's tough. Normally I just take the hit. One of the things about Mega Man is that, you know, you have so much health, you can tank. You know, you can basically just act as a tank against a lot of these enemies and just take the damage. Obviously, you know, it always feels the best to get through the games without, you know, just tanking. You always want to try to get through the games as to the best of your ability. You know, try to get through some of these levels without taking damage. You know, it's always a good feeling. And why can't I make it through that platform? I think the reason I couldn't make it is that I'm so used to playing Mega Man 2 and 3 right now, because I also live streamed those. And they are more responsive. Huh, that was weird. He picked up a second block. I've never seen that before. That was really weird, actually. Okay, so that's using Gutsman's ability. Gutsman's ability doesn't really do anything else, unfortunately. But if you see those sort of like discolored blocks, like right here... Let me actually switch over to CutMan again. Destroy this. So like this one right here, you can grab that. Never really found a major use for going the, you know, like the right path. Okay, good. Just barely missed that. But yeah, I mean, it gives you just choice. It's not really choice that's going to really affect, like, your gameplay overall. But, you know, if you prefer to go right, go right. If you prefer to go left, you're more than able to go left. Which is what we did. Alright, so I'm going to try to not use this ability because I don't want to run out on Elecman. But CutMan against Elecman, it just wrecks Elecman. I think it usually takes like maybe 3 hits to kill Elecman, maybe 4 with the CutMan ability. But again, if you just use your Mega Buster, I'm pretty sure on Elecman it's just you only take away like 1 block of health. And these bosses have like 20 to 24 blocks of health or something. It's pretty much the same amount of health as you have as Mega Man. So on the left-hand side, you'll notice there's two bars. The gray one is the CutMan ability. And the white one is my normal health bar. So, yeah, it's 3. I thought it was 3. But look at that. Elecman did a third of my health bar in one hit. It's just absolutely crazy. And this is one of the only Mega Man games where normal Robot Masters dish out that kind of damage. Iceman, I think, is the same way. Fireman's not as bad, but he still dishes out some damage. These guys just hit like tanks, basically. So let's go ahead and do Iceman, and then we'll probably end up using Iceman's ability against Fireman, just because it makes life a lot easier. Fireman is the most unpredictable boss for me, and I find the most difficult boss to actually defeat without taking damage. I've never even come close to beating Fireman without taking damage. It's he's that tough for me, basically. So Mega Man 1 is sort of like the game in the series that basically solidified a bunch of different gameplay mechanics that would just pretty much carry over for the rest of the series. So for instance, the health and weapon drops, weapon power-up drops, things like that. Obviously the stealing of the other Robot Master weapons. But they also introduced the teleporting brick or block mechanic. As you can see here, we got some teleporting bricks, and they always teleport in the same pattern, and they can be a little tricky for people, but it's all about just learning those patterns and memorizing them. So this one has one of the patterns as well, where you have to actually, you'll see one, I know it's hard to explain, so let's just jump there, and here, and over here, right here, then straight up. It's the straight up ones like that that require really tricky timing, because if the block appears right on top of you, or right on you, ooh, and that's why we use the magnet beam. It was because of this section right here. That's okay, the checkpoint's not too far back. We'll end up just using the magnet beam the second time. And what I could do is use something like Elecman's ability right here, or CutMan again. Elecman to me he's got the best ability in the game. It's a huge projectile. Basically a three-way projectile that goes up, down, and right, or whichever way you're pointing. It could be right, could be left, it depends. And so on Wily's Castle in particular, you'll see me using that more often. You'll see me using it on Fireman Stage 2, just because of the types of enemies that we have to deal with. So in Mega Man, any Mega Man game, don't feel bad about using the Robot Master weapons. That's what they're there for. They're there to be used. So if you're having problems with certain parts of the game, just use the Robot Master weapons. So again, here's the magnet beam. You basically hold B, and then you let go of B. That's actually another mechanic that wasn't in other Mega Man games. If you're high up and you fall, Mega Man falls like a tank. Bam, look at how fast he fell. That doesn't happen in other Mega Man games. And there's actually a trick you can use here too. We're gonna have to try to get past another one of those big telephone looking guys. But use the magnet beam. And just walk over him. But again, watch how fast I fall. Bam, like that. So in other Mega Man games, you know, you'll fall at your normal rate, which will give you a little bit of room to, like, you can control your jumps mid-air, so you can go multiple ways. So, you know, if you end up falling off a platform, you'll start falling relatively slowly, and, you know, say there's an endless pit, but another platform, you might be able to reach that other platform by holding a certain direction. But in Mega Man 1, you can't really do that. So bosses in Mega Man 1 also have a little bit of invincibility time as well. And to beat these bosses as quickly as you can, you want to sort of time your shots to where your second shot or your next shot hits just after the boss's invincibility time is over with. And that's kind of what I'm doing. That's why you don't see me just like mashing the attack button like this. Like that's a way you can play like that, but a lot of your shots are just going to go right through the boss. So I try to be a little more accurate with my shots. See? Kind of like that. It just goes bam, 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 bam. But if you don't get the timing right, your projectiles just go through the boss. Ooh, getting close. Got it. Jump. So even after you kill the boss, whatever projectiles are still on the screen can still hurt you. So if I got hit by that last ice projectile, I would have died. Now I think we're still good on lives. So, you know, I don't think I had to worry about that. I don't mind losing some lives. You know, I'm not playing for perfection here. But we'll hit the start button just to see how many lives I have once we get into the game. Or Fireman's level. Okay, 2 lives off. Yeah, that's not bad. But this is a good place to use Elecman's weapon. Bam. Just like that. And bam. Just like that. So, Elecman's weapon is my favorite weapon to use on Fireman's stage. Ooh, another extra life. We don't really need it. I think it actually would have gone off screen and basically just teleported out of existence anyway. Which is basically what happens. You can push objects off the screen and they will disappear. So what's really cool about those things of fire is that you can actually freeze them with Iceman's weapon. Oops. Actually, I don't even think I can make it up there, but you know what I can do? It's one of the great things about Mega Man 1, is you have this. And if you were having a hard time, you can just... See, check this out. If you were having problems with some of the platforming in this game, just bust out the magnet beam. That's what it's there for. And we're going to fall down fast. Really fast. And we can even use it again right here. Oh, I don't normally use this here, but it's actually really cool to do it. Oh, that was too high. That's okay. Oops. And actually, I shouldn't have wasted it, but what I can do... Ooh, look at that. Perfect. Perfect. That's exactly what I wanted. So I can actually use it here. I highly recommend using the magnet beam here if you don't want to take damage. Bam, just like that. And just get past those fireballs or whatever you want to call them. I'm actually curious. I don't think I can go over this wall. No, I didn't think so. It would be fun to try. Nope. Some games are a little glitchy or unpolished in a way where, like, the wall actually doesn't go past, like, the top of the screen. And so you can actually go over the wall in some games. Not this game, but other games you can, and it's just kind of funny. Alright, so we're going to go ahead and one thing you can do here, you can grind out on enemies in the Mega Man games. This is standard procedure for many of the games in the series. So if you see parts like this where you got respawning enemies, just sit here and grind out a little bit. Play it safe. Say you're on your last life. Why go into the fight with no health? Just come here and grind out. There we go. Got some health. Perfect. So after this, we're pretty much going to be at Wily's castle, and as long as I don't have too much trouble there, we're probably going to finish the game in probably the next 15 minutes or so. So like I said, this is a little bit shorter than some of the other Mega Man games. But it doesn't mean it's not as fun as the other Mega Man games. This is a really fun Mega Man game. I always have fun going back to the first Mega Man. Some people don't enjoy this one that much, and I tried to put my finger on why, and I really just wasn't able to understand it. I think it's a greater challenge than some of the other Mega Man games, and maybe that's why some people don't like it. But it also doesn't look quite as refined. Like the visual style and whatnot isn't quite as, like, I don't know, intricate or detailed as, say, like the first Mega, or like I should say the second or third Mega Mans. For 1987, though, I think it's still a really solid game. It has more going for it than many other 1987 NES games did. It runs well, it looks good, it sounds great, it's got a great soundtrack, good flexible gameplay, things like that, and now one thing you can actually do with these guys is you can actually freeze them mid-air, which is really cool. So Iceman's weapon doesn't really do a whole lot, except for freeze. Oh wow, you can go under them. You have to get it just right though. Interesting. Man, it's awesome when I do these Let's Plays and I actually learn something new when I play them. Look at that. Yeah, normally I'd have to wait for, like, the big hop, not the baby hop. I've never actually successfully gone under them with the baby hop. So on that section right there, you're best off typically freezing the flames. But if you get the timing just right, you can actually jump up. Even though the ceiling height is pretty much, you know, almost the same height as you. And on this part, we're gonna have to bust out Gutsman again. So, very much like some later Mega Man games, Wily's Castle oftentimes requires you to use certain Robot Master abilities. And that's yet another trait that... gameplay design element that basically started with the first game in the series. Alright, so this part's really tough. I like to just use the magnet beam here. These guys can actually go all the way up to the top spikes. And you can get crushed or spiked to death, basically. And you really need the magnet beam for this part, too. So you really don't want to waste the magnet beam here. And if you do, it's extremely frustrating. Okay, good. We got it on our first try. I think it was either my long play or my first Let's Play of this game where I actually wasted my magnet beam and I couldn't get up there and I had to basically kill myself and get a game over in order to try it again. That was really frustrating. I'm gonna have to go back and see if that was my long play or my Let's Play. My first Let's Play. This is my second Let's Play. So this is the Yellow Devil. He is a fairly infamous character in the first Mega Man. He's really not that hard. It's just about jumping over these objects. And I actually just did that wrong. I'll explain that in just a moment. So for jumping over these, you just basically just keep jumping over them like this. There's this one right here where you want to jump over 2 at once. And then that's pretty much it. Just rinse and repeat. His projectile, just make sure that you're moving in the opposite direction, and you'll pretty much avoid it, guaranteed. So, this is the exact same pattern every single time. It does not change. And it's the same for Mega Man 3 as well. The pattern is different in Mega Man 3, but the pattern does stay the same. Ooh, I missed. That sucks. That's okay. What's good about Elecman's weapon is that it only uses... one piece of ammunition, basically. One block of your bar. So, and I'm going to actually show you something. I'm going to show you a trick here. So Mega Man 1 is also the only game where you can pause it. Not only just bring up your menu, but you can actually physically pause the game by pressing select. And there's a trick you can do, where if you can keep pausing it, you'll actually do multiple hits of damage. Many times enough hits to actually kill the enemy or boss that you're dealing with. And so if you're having problems with this game, feel free to use the pause trick. It's not the most rewarding way to beat the game, but it is, it's a known glitch in the game. You can take advantage of it if you want. Just, I'm usually the kind of person that doesn't use glitches like that until I'm really familiar with the game. Because at that point I'm like, well, I know I'm going to beat the game anyway. It's not really any question about it. I'm going to finish Mega Man 1. But when I try to finish a game for the first time, I generally don't use glitches like that. But I am of the mindset that you can try to, use it as just a way to practice certain areas of the game. If you're trying to play it, say, like, on the original hardware, you're not using emulation or a flash card, you don't have save states, things like that. So, known glitches like the one in Mega Man 1, I could see new players using it to just, you know, to get better at the game, basically. A lot of people, actually, a roadblock for them is the Yellow Devil, for instance, and a way to get past him is to just bust out Elecman's weapon. And actually, I think Elecman is the only weapon that actually works against him. And then you can just use the pause trick over and over again. It's like if I wanted to. Now you can kind of see how it's working. Unfortunately, Elecman's weapon isn't that powerful, but this is the pause trick in action, basically. That's not going to hit him again. Alright, so we're going to actually use CutMan's weapon again. Bam, dead. Alright, no more pause trick. Alright, what do I want to do here? Probably want to get the magnet beam back up. So, in Wily's castle, your ammunition also does not restock between stages. So there's something else to keep in mind here. Now, it will restock if you get a game over. But if you're trying to go through it without dying, or not without dying, but like without continuing or something like that, that is something you've got to watch out for. And what I can do here is just use Elecman's weapon again. And we've got, I'm going to use the magnet beam here. Back to Elecman. Now these ladders, when you're on top of them, you can actually press A, and what'll happen is you'll just drop from the ladder. So that's a way to get past, you know, get down the ladders a little bit faster. Mega Man's 1 and 2, Mega Man is just notoriously slow when he goes down said ladders. So, here we go. Look at that. And instead of, like, you know, climbing all the way back down, you can actually start climbing and just press A, and you'll just fall all the way down. Alright, so our magnet beam is pretty high up, which is good, because we're going to use it a little bit later, just to make, you know, the last section of Wily's castle a little bit easier. Alright, so this is going to be tricky. We're probably going to die here, because this is the doppelganger boss, and to me, he's probably the hardest boss in the game. He's very aggressive. He just jumps all over the place, and it's basically you're just fighting yourself, except he's a pain. And I said we're probably going to die because I don't have any health, basically, so 2 hits, I was dead. But that's okay, we pretty much just start right at him, which is nice. Alright, let's try this again. And this is kind of what I was talking about. The harder bosses in the game, they dish out more damage. Well, in this case, I guess he doesn't really dish out more damage, but he takes a long time to take down. And I don't know if there's actually a weakness for this guy. If there is, and one of you guys knows, feel free to drop a comment below and let me know. It's not something I've ever looked into. I've always just fought him the normal way. I have tried switching to other weapons, but he changes to those weapons too. He's like a literal copy of you, so whatever you do, or at least whatever weapon you use, that's what weapon he uses as well. So I could do without him using Elecman's weapon or Fireman's weapon or something like that. I wonder what happens if you use Gutsman's weapon. Do you just like hug each other? Because Gutsman, there are no blocks in there. You can't use them. That would actually be some real interesting attention to detail if like you selected Gutsman and you just like grappled him and just like killed him in one hit. That would be that would be interesting. But I have a feeling that's not the case. I have a feeling that does not work. So you can kind of see how Elecman's weapon really comes in handy. It's really powerful. Now what I'm going to do here is basically water comes in, and you're constantly forced to go to the right. You can actually hold right and speed through this section a little bit quicker. But I'm going to try to use Elecman's weapon here to see if I can maybe get some more ammunition. What I actually should be doing is just using this, and if one appears... There we go. Back to Elecman. Back to my Mega Buster. I want to say this was originally called the Plasma Shot, or something like that. Which is why it stands for P. Maybe it stands for player, but I always thought it was Plasma. But later on in the game, his arm cannon was known as the... Oops! Was known as the Mega Buster. Mega Man was a really unique character design for the time it came out. You know, having a character with just an arm cannon built in. So it only has one hand. The other arm is a cannon, which is interesting. It was a design choice that always appealed to me as a kid, and you know, it was just interesting when this game came out, 1987. It's hard to believe it's been that long. Now, I did actually play a little bit of Mega Man 1, not a little bit, I played a lot of Mega Man 1 as a kid. But it wasn't the first Mega Man, like, I really played or owned. It was really Mega Man 2 was the first one I really played. Didn't own it. Not until much later, anyway. Mega Man 3 was actually the first Mega Man game that I owned. I got it for Christmas one year. I think the year it came out, I think it was 1990. And then later on, in, I'd say the early 90s, a friend offered it to me for sale. He was a neighbor down the street, and he offered it to me for like $10 or $15 or something like that. And at this point, you know, Mega Man 1 wasn't the most common game out there. It didn't sell as well, anywhere near as well as Mega Man 2. The series didn't really kick off in North America until Mega Man 2. Like, you know, Mega Man 1 was there, but it didn't seem like a whole lot of people had it. And so I was a kid. I ended up going out and running like lemonade stands and mowing neighbors' grass lawns, and earned up the money to go buy this game from my neighbors down the street. And that's how I eventually got this game. At that point, I had already had Mega Man 3. I also got Mega Man 4 for, you know, I guess the next birthday. Did Mega Man 4 come out? I think Mega Man 4 was 91, right? And so I got Mega Man 4, you know, the year it came out. And really loved Mega Man 3 and Mega Man 4, but I always had a soft spot for Mega Man 1. It had this, ooh. Had a feeling that was going to happen. I wasn't close enough to the edge of that platform. This is where I want to use the magnet beam again. It just makes life easier. So yeah, Mega Man 1 always had just like this sort of like unique appeal to it. It is unique compared to the other ones on the NES. I'd say it's the most unique in that it's the most different from the rest, you know. After this game, they basically just kept trying to refine the formula for better or for worse. Whereas in this one, it just kind of did its own thing. Some things stuck, some things didn't. But in later Mega Man games, there was usually a variation on something that came prior or that was introduced in those games. So, like, you know, the numerical icons were available in Mega Man 2. Those were used, basically turned into the rush abilities in Mega Man 3 and on. Letter collecting was introduced in Mega Man 5, but special item collecting was also introduced in Mega Man 4. You could say that was carried over into Mega Man 5 as the letter collecting. which gave you beat. And then, you know, you could also collect more letters in Mega Man 6, but in a different way. Mega Man 1 is still the one that sort of like stands out on its own the most, as like this sort of like different experience. You know, you get the magnet beam, you've got this insane risk on the spikes, you know, even if you're invincible in your invulnerability period, you can still get killed by the spikes, things like that. Having to fight multiple robot masters back to back with no health refills. And that's exactly what this part is right here that we just got to. Oops. And this is actually probably one of the toughest parts of the game, because you do have to fight, I think, 4 robot masters back to back. And I think, is this Iceman? Nope, Fireman. I spoke too soon. And this is where you probably want to use the pause trick, if you don't feel guilty about it. Ugh. See, Fireman, I am so terrible at dodging his attacks. There you go, Iceman. We're just gonna take the easy way out, because now we have Gutsman, and Gutsman's a little tricky without his platforms. I had to take the easy way out there. The thing about this level is that the checkpoint is all the way at the beginning of the stage, so you have to go all the way, or through the whole level again, every single time that you do that. Fortunately for this boss, the checkpoint is right after the Robot Master bosses, so we're gonna go ahead and just stick with your main shot here. I don't really need... Oops, I didn't mean to miss that, but it doesn't really matter. So this is the final boss, guys. We're at 42 minutes on the Let's Play. Not too bad. We would have actually been through it a little bit faster if I didn't die a couple times. And we died. So Dr. Wily basically has 2 forms here. You have to blow off this cannon, and then his weak spot appears, and you have to just basically fight him twice with slightly different forms. So the invincibility time on him here is actually a little bit shorter than it is on the main bosses. But you still have to, you know, fire at a certain pace, because, oops. Alright, we're gonna switch over to, I believe, CutMan. Not CutMan. The good thing about CutMan on this form of Dr. Wily is it does do multiple hits. And that's gonna be pretty much it. We just did it. So that projectile he shoots out, like, goes around in this, like, circular fashion. A lot of times you can just, like, walk under it or walk closer to Wily and you'll just avoid it that way. It feels a little erratic. A little tricky to avoid, so if you're having problems with that, I mean, I would just try to watch the pattern it's going in and just see if you can just walk past it or walk under it or get closer to Wily, especially if Wily is moving backwards. And so yeah, that's Mega Man. And it's actually kind of cool listening to this now. It's been a while, aside from my live stream, that I've actually finished Mega Man 1 with headphones on. And, you know, this ending theme here was, you know, reused for the beginning of Mega Man 2. So it's like the game ends on this note, and it sort of starts on this note with Mega Man 2. And it's something I never really noticed when I was younger. I mean, I knew the theme was, you know, in Mega Man 2 was a variation on this, but I never thought about it that way. Like, oh, so this is the ending theme for Mega Man 1, and that ending theme starts at the beginning of Mega Man 2. So I always thought... Well, not always, but just recently I noticed it, and I think that's pretty cool. You know, it's a good way to link the games together. So yeah, guys, Mega Man 1, really great game. I love playing through Mega Man 1. I think it's a really fun game in the Mega Man series. I mean, this is where it all started, basically. Mega Man, Rockman. It started with this game, and obviously some of the games were a little more refined than this one, especially Mega Man 2. But this is still a great game, and I highly recommend playing this if you haven't really experienced the Mega Man series, or if you've only played like parts 2 or 3 or 4 or something like that. I recommend going back and giving this one a shot. I mean, you can play it through original hardware, or you can, do a flash card, or you can buy some of the various Mega Man compilations. If you got a PS2 or Xbox, I don't really recommend the GameCube version. If you got a PS2 or Xbox, you got the Mega Man Anniversary Collection. That's one way to play this. If you've got modern systems like, PS4 and Xbox One, you've got the Mega Man Legacy Collection, which is, as of recording this, is really cheap. So that's got, the first 6 NES Mega Man, or the 6 NES Mega Man games on it. And that one especially is really cool because it's got different goals and things like that you can use to not to get through the game, but you got side goals that they implemented that'll basically give you challenges in each of the 6 games. It's a really unique little package. Not, like I said, not very expensive. So if you haven't played the original Mega Man, I highly recommend it. And I definitely highly recommend it. So I'm going to go ahead and end this Let's Play on that note, guys. I hope you guys enjoyed this. It's, even though I beat this game on stream just a couple days ago, it felt good to just go right back to it because it is a really fun game, and I always enjoy playing the first Mega Man. I'm going to eventually do re-records of Mega Mans 2 through 6, so stay tuned for those. Stay tuned for those. I can't talk right now, apparently. I don't know when that's going to happen. This was just kind of out of the blue. I didn't plan this one, but I do hope to eventually go back and re-record Mega Mans 2 through 6 to sort of bring my Let's Play quality up to the modern age. So... But yeah, that's pretty much it, guys. I'm going to go ahead and wrap things up here. If you enjoyed this Let's Play and you're brand new to my channel, please consider subscribing. Click that G icon on your screen there to do so. For everybody else already subbed, thank you for your usual support. And thanks once again to my Patreon backers. So take it easy, guys. I'll see you in the next video. And until then, take care.